This happened a few years ago. I had been together with my fiance for 15 years. We were both in a severe accident while I was driving. Wasn't my fault, hit and run, police never found who did it. I survived. He didn't. I grew up in an abusive household and they had always been like a family to me before this. My boyfriend was their only son, adopted. After his death, they started hating me and treating me really harshly. In the 2 months after the accident, they blamed me for his death. Constantly told me how I should have died instead of him. They made me give back the engagement ring. They made me give them all the things he ever gave me because I didn't deserve them. They made me give back all the money we saved. They told me they would sue me if I didn't. I asked them why they were doing this and they told me it's because I wasn't family. They told me to never contact them again. I lost him and I also lost people whom I had loved and considered to be my family. I was dealing with a lot of grief and survivor's guilt and they weren't making it better. So I just did whatever they asked while I was trying to get a transfer to another city. Then I found out I was 8 weeks pregnant. My transfer came through at the right time and I left without telling them anything. New city, new life. I was happy. A year later, they tracked me and found out that I had a baby. I mistakenly shared the news with a friend in Old City. They lost their crap. They were yelling at me about how cruel I was for keeping their grandbaby from them. They asked me why I never told them I was pregnant. I told them I didn't tell them anything because I wasn't family. They were demanding to be a part of her life and I pretty much told them to take a hike. They told me they would take me court. I told them that they cannot possibly prove that my daughter is her son's because he was adopted and cremated. I haven't put his name in the birth certificate. I told her I would tell my daughter about them when she is old enough to decide whether she wants to connect with them, and until then, I am not going to let them into my life after how they behaved. Soon after, they changed their approach and started apologizing. They told me that since I am a parent, I must understand how they felt back then and how I shouldn't hold on to things they said when they were in mourning. They told me how I must forgive them because they were family. I laughed and hung up. In the following year, they tried to contact me repeatedly, always giving excuses and never an actual apology. After that, I got a chance to go to another country and I took it. I deleted all my social media. Changed my number and only shared it with people I trusted in the new city. I left and they haven't been able to contact me after that. So, am I the idiot? Not the idiot. You don't get to use someone as an emotional scapegoat and harass them into silence and then complain that they're not acting close and like family. Do not let these maniacs anywhere near your daughter. They already showed you their true colors. Well, yes, people sometimes act out in grief, that's usually within a day or of hearing the news, not weeks and months later, and you do not need people like that around any child of yours. Not the idiot. They told me they would take me court. Their first instinct was to sue OP for custody and visitation. I'm not that familiar with grandparents' rights, but I think one of the requirements is that they need to prove a meaningful relationship with a grandchild for an extended period of time or financial support. By letting them have any relationship with the baby, OP would be opening the door for them to barge right in and take her to court like they said they would. And after they treated her so harshly before, I wouldn't put it past them to lie and make her sound like an unfit mother to try to gain custody. Not the idiot. Relationships with in-laws are based on trust and respect. They have shown you neither. Grief either brings a family together or tears it apart. They had an opportunity to draw you close and grieve together, and instead they chose to take their pain and rage out on you. They have shown themselves to be vindictive, cold, and cruel. Neither you nor your daughter need people like that in your life. My newborn's pediatrician is always so crowded in terms of size of waiting room versus number of people waiting. It requires a certain amount of etiquette, for example, controlling your kid because there are no toys, no play area, no real space for shenanigans. Enter lady with 4 kids. A newborn, 2 toddlers, and a kindergarten-aged kid, little girl in question here. She really should have brought an iPad or a second adult or something because her kids were literally running around this tiny space, yelling and screeching. The mom was oblivious to all of her kids except the newborn, who was quietly breastfeeding while mom was glued to her phone screen. Accordingly, other people were put in the awkward position of having to discipline her kids. Several people had previously tried to put her kids back in line for whatever issue, harassing their kids, being loud, whatever. Her kindergarten-age daughter, who clearly had some kind of special needs, was absolutely enamored with my newborn and his stroller. She was asking me if she could push it around. No, she was getting super close to my newborn, stop, and was generally just being annoying. For God's sake, at one point when I wasn't looking and was preoccupied with my own kid, she went digging in my diaper bag and throwing my stuff onto the chair and the floor. My newborn was really fussy because we were there for a sick visit and he wasn't feeling well, and I did not feel like entertaining some strange kid. I tried being polite about it. "Sweetie, where's your mommy?" Points to mom, "Ma'am," points to kid. The lady would call her kid back, but the kid just kept coming back to me. Rinse and repeat. I told her she needed to stay with her mom. Little punk girl says, "I don't wanna," and keeps trying to touch my son, my stroller, our stuff. Finally, I'm trying to fix a bottle of formula while holding a screaming baby and listening to this little girl like a broken record. "Why is your baby crying? Why is your baby crying? Make him stop." I don't like that, and her annoying self knocks my bottle of formula off the table and into my stroller. So now I'm out formula, kid still screaming, and I have a huge mess that I don't have a great way to clean up. I'm at my wit's end. I raise my voice at this kid. "Look what you did. I am not your mom, I am not your babysitter. You're bothering me. Get out of my face." People looked at me like I was the biggest idiot on earth. A lady speaking Spanish actually did call me an idiot. The little girl starts crying. I'm not apologizing. The mom confronts me. I tell her she should have been watching her kid, and that's the hill I'm prepared to die on. So, am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Well, you could have handled the situation better. The difference between how you handle an annoying kid versus an annoying adult is thus. You immediately or quickly yell at the adult. For a kid, you're polite, then get their guardian, and if their guardian doesn't discipline them, you try to gently discipline them, but it gets to a point when you have no choice but to yell at them. You didn't curse or use overly offensive language, so I fail to see the problem. You can't be accepted to sit there while being tormented by a kid. Everyone's the idiot here. The mother is an idiot for obvious reasons, and there are enough comments outlining them. You're an idiot because you screamed at a disabled kid. There are extenuating circumstances. 1. You were pushed and had tried telling her non-confrontationally. 2. You are a new parent whose tolerance for bullcrap is understandably low, but nothing changes the fact that you screamed at a disabled kid who has clearly never been taught boundaries. There were so many things you could and should have done instead. You could have walked over and confronted the mother directly, you could have spoken to staff and asked them to intervene, or you could have asked to be moved elsewhere. You're the idiot. They saw the whole thing, saw the kids misbehave, saw the formula spill, and some felt so strongly you were the idiot they were comfortable calling you an idiot over your behavior despite the presence of children. I get that you're seeking validation and have given yourself the best framing possible, but you still were the adult here and chose to lose it at a 5-year-old. My best friend Kelly passed away 2 years ago. We were both childhood friends. She adopted her dog Leo 7 years ago, and we became attached to him, and he was the bond that made our friendship stronger. When she passed away, I took him in a few months after she passed, and it felt like she was there every time he runs in or cuddles with me. I recently moved in with my fiancé. He lives out of town and brought Leo in with me. I could sense that my fiancé didn't feel comfortable with having Leo live with us. He sat with me and asked if we could offer him up for adoption. Since I've been busy with college and he was busy working, I told him the story behind taking Leo in, and he sort of dropped it. During the last couple of weeks, I was visiting my parents and asked my fiancé to take care of him while I was away. He said okay. I called every night to check in on Leo and I could hear him bark in background, but a few days later, he stopped. My fiancé told me he was outside. I came back and I noticed Leo was gone. I waited till my fiancé got back and he sat me down and explained that, while he was out with Leo, a family approached him and asked him if he was putting him up for adoption and said they were willing to provide a home for him since their son who didn't let go of Leo lost his dog who looked the same as him. He said he felt sorry for the kid and decided to give them Leo. I was in shock. I lost it and yelled at him that it wasn't his place because Leo was mine. He lashed out saying I was hurting his feeling and overreacting. I told him he needed to get him back. He just gave me their number and told me to handle it. I've had a hard time trying to get him back, and I did eventually. I packed up and moved back with my parents. My fiancé is calling and apologizing, then saying that he can no longer pay for rent on his own. I didn't reply. My family say I should forgive him and get over it, but I just couldn't. I feel heavy and unable to even talk to him anymore. Your family is wrong. I can't begin to emphasize how wrong they are. This man is not worthy of your forgiveness. He has shown that he is willing to hurt you. He has shown that he does not respect you. He has shown that he is willing to gaslight you. This is not a person you should ever be near again. It's a miracle that you got your sweet dog back, and I'm so happy you did. Again, your family is wrong. If you want to internally forgive him for your own peace of mind, that's one thing. And by forgive I mean choose to let go of anger so that it doesn't eat you up. That does not mean go back to him. That does not mean tell him he's forgiven. It simply means choosing to readjust your own mental state. For your own comfort. Not the idiot. Please don't ever forgive him for that. Animals are a part of the family. If my partner did this, I would end things with him. My partner dislikes animals, but at the end of the day he knows my fur babies mean the world to me. He respects that and is always kind to them. He just won't do much with them unless I'm not home to care for them. Your fiancé had no right to give away your dog. It's obvious he didn't care about your feelings and prioritized his own. This wasn't a dispute over ugly dishes or a rug. Screw him. I can't believe what your fiancé did. I'm a dog person and know the bond between a dog and its owner can be as close as one of a parent and child. Explain this to your fiancé and dump him. Why is it hard for you to get Leo back? Can you not go to the police explaining your dog was taken from you without your authorization? Do this as soon as possible, as you don't want to increase the bond between Leo and new owners. I have a weird situation. It's become very clear that my husband is the only man on our street. The rest of the houses are entirely women. There's a few single mother houses, 2 houses of all female roommates, 1 single woman, and even a lesbian couple. I normally wouldn't care or even take note of this, but since March, it's like we're getting constant calls and texts. The number we gave when we moved in 2 years ago, just renewed last January, was my number. I am flooded with requests for basic handyman stuff like changing light bulbs, car problems, and dealing with toilets. He has helped people around the neighborhood before because he is a nice guy, and we are from a culture that assumes that men need to help out women if they can, even if they're not related. But with me being furloughed, he's the only one working and is less interested in extra stuff. But the tasks do only take about 5-20 minutes on average, which I know because my husband makes me go with him because they make him uncomfortable. Even more gross than that is that these women are obsessed with him on a personal level. They openly flirt with him and literally offer themselves up if he's ever tired of me or wants something different. I have even gotten interesting pictures from neighbors. While I love my husband and am attracted to him, he's not like a male model or anything, so I really don't understand why these women are fawning over him like this. One of the single moms has even asked him to come over and discipline one of her children, which is an absolute nope. He's not comfortable with any of this and has asked me to intervene. I've tried talking to these women more casually to no avail. I set up a Zoom for just us ladies to try to get us on the same page. They told me that since it's now impossible for any of them to find anyone anymore, 2020, I needed to share my husband and be less selfish in regards to household maintenance requests. It's not even safe to call for maintenance, and I shouldn't ask them to when there's a safe alternative where they don't have to risk exposure. They also said that it was just harmless flirting because they're all frustrated and can't date, and that I wouldn't even be threatened by it if I was giving him kids. I've talked to my own family about this, and while they say that the women should be less forward, I should be more understanding about how hard it is for a woman to be alone, because my own mother was alone. Am I the idiot for not just dealing with it? Not the idiot. If they aren't able to maintain their homes, they should move to an apartment with an on-site handyman. Neither you nor your husband is comfortable with their requests, and you are a more agreeable woman than I am for putting up with the disrespectful violations of flirting and sending photos to what they thought was your husband's phone. I get trying to be a good neighbor and all, but they are walking all over you both and completely disrespecting your marriage with their jokes. Those aren't jokes coming from the one who sent photos. But your husband really needs to learn to tell them off himself. When someone treats him badly, he should say no, I am not going to come over anymore. Also, none of this bullcrap of, I should be more understanding about how hard it is for a woman to be alone. It is 2021. Men are not genetically more disposed to understand how a drain works or how to wire a socket. We had to learn too, mostly by trial and error. First off, changing a light bulb is the easiest handyman task ever, so that's just an excuse to have your husband over and harass him. The fact that these women, and I'm honestly astounded that it's multiple women, think you need to share your husband is mind-blowing. I'd block all of their numbers. Problem solved. It's amazing to me that they are so concerned about exposure when I'm sure they go to the grocery store every week. Once again, it's just an excuse. They will be fine. My husband and I have been married for 10 years. For our entire relationship, I have brought the majority of the money into the home. I contribute 75% of that. I don't mind, really. It's not something I think about and I have always considered it our money. Our country, Switzerland, is really expensive and I grew up not in a large city and rather poor. When I had the chance to go to university, I studied hard, learned 3 languages, got 2 degrees, and was able to secure a good position in finance. Years later, I make a very good salary and we don't have to worry about money. We decided that my husband would handle all of the money and finances for the home. I would check on the accounts every once in a while, but I haven't been checking regularly. A few weeks ago, I was thinking about buying a Model 3 since it has recently come to our country and I've fancied it for some time. I played with the numbers and while figuring out if I can afford it or not, I realized that there was a weird mistake in our accounts. There was $300k missing. When my husband got home, I showed him the accounts and after some pushing, he admitted that he lost $200k in cryptocurrency in 2018. This is about 25% of our savings. Besides being shocked and angry, I cannot help to feel that he stole from me. He put money into something stupid without talking to me and then tried to hide it. I was thinking about this for a week and talked to my friends and family about it. They think we should see a doctor and talk about it, try to work out the problem. But I honestly just want to get divorced. If he is capable of doing this, how can I trust him ever again? Am I the idiot for not wanting to talk about it or go to therapy? Am I the idiot for thinking about divorce? Not the idiot. Even if your husband does the financing, huge investments using both your money should be discussed first between the both of you. Of course you don't check your saving account as often as you should because you trust him, as your husband, that he won't screw up. However, I don't think that divorce is the best solution here. You're thinking like this because you're upset and mad. This is a setback in your relationship, and after you have moved on from this incident, he must have been a better man who learned from his mistake, and you'd be thankful you didn't divorce the man you married. Everyone's the idiot here. Marriage is for richer or poorer. He screwed up. He is an idiot. He shouldn't have kept it from you, and there is zero excuses for what he did. But, for the most part, at 25% of your savings it isn't the end of the world, and I truly wonder what guilt he has, hopefully, been putting himself through since. What is the rest of your relationship like? If this is the very first thing to make you want to divorce, this isn't a good enough reason in my humble opinion. Cheating is far worse. If he is not remorseful, that to me would be another sign to get out. But if he is, try to move on from this. It might be better for both of you in the long run. I just wanted to say that, whatever you do, I think it would be a huge mistake to base that decision in any way on what people are saying here. This is an internet community, here to discuss morality and arguments, not give advice about marriages. Not a single person in this thread has nearly enough information on your relationship to make that decision, and I honestly find it very shocking how out of line the people here are. A divorce may be the right thing for you, but it may also not be, and it could ruin your lives if it's the wrong thing. Either way, nobody you ask here can tell you that. I think in this case everybody in this thread is the idiot.